Hi, it's Lynn. Hello. I'm really hoping this is working. If someone could sort of say something to let me know that it's working and I'm live, just because I've not done this before and I'm having to use my phone, which is why it's kind of cropped up really rather close to me. But anyway, um, my name's Lynne Horton. I'm the expert of the week on um, email marketing, and I'm looking at the BizMums page to my right, hoping that something has come on, and I am there. So please, please, somebody let me know that it's live and it's working. Um, that would be great. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to talk, and I might be talking to myself, but I hope not. Because it's saying congratulations, this is your most watched live video yet, which is good. Because it must mean somebody's watching. So anyway, I'm Lynne Horton. I'm an email marketing expert. I actually call myself a digital business consultant because everything I do revolves around the internet and everything I do revolves around technology. Hi, I'm live. Hannah Gibson, you're a gem. Thank you so much. I know it's working because I can't see it on the BizMums page on my computer, and it's was scaring me. But it's probably best that I'm not watching myself, because if I was to do that, I probably would get even more nervous than I am already. So anyway, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I really didn't realise that. I didn't realise the date when I said I'd do the training on this date. So for those who've joined me, I hope you've got a box of chocolates or a bottle of wine or something to keep you company. Mine's in the fridge for when I've finished. So, but what I'd like to do is talk about email marketing and talk about how to make your emails irresistible. Now, I know I've been a member of BizMums for a while, so I appreciate that there's lots of different businesses doing lots of different things. So I've kind of come to it from both um, an outbound email marketing and an inbound email marketing approach. Outbound being like direct mail, so how to target customers using mailing lists or mailing out to people, and inbound is more probably more of a funnel approach, whereby you use content to attract people onto your mailing list, and then you the customers on your mailing list that you then keep in touch with and make offers to and stuff like that. So I've also come at it from a business to customer and business to business point of view, because there's two tranches of types of email marketing, but it's also slightly different depending on whether you're targeting a business to customer or business to business. So what I'm going to cover basically is introduction to inbound and outbound marketing, how to create a click-worthy subject line. Basically, a click-worthy subject line is really important, because if it never gets past the open box and just goes straight into spam or just never gets opened, then how sad, what a waste of time. But if you've got a really strong subject line and the right layout for your email, it really does help to get your open rate up. Um, so next, I'll cover the outbound do's and don'ts of mass mailing. So that's the outbound way, and there is a lot of do's and don'ts about that, because it's about contacting people, and you know, the laws in the UK surrounding spam mail and contacting people and stuff like that. I'll then move on to the more of an inbound and pillars of building a successful email list. For inbound marketing, your email list is everything, and it's quite disheartening if you've only got a couple of names on your list and the family and friends and everything else. So you really do need a good strategy of attracting the right customer for your business. So I'll go through the 5 pillars of that. How to find a winning idea for a lead magnet is something I'm going to cover, and that's really because in order to attract people onto the mail list, you really need to make them an offer. You really need to give them something of value that they're willing to swap their contact details for. We all get lots of emails. Most people will get 40 branded emails a day, and that's from brands that they trust, Tesco, Mothercare, whatever it is. So how do you make yours stand out? So basically a lead magnet is a way to drag them in. And then finally, tools, test and tweak. So there's a number of email marketing tools you can use. There's actually lots out there. It's too hard for me to go into great detail about them all, but what I will say is the main features of the popular ones. So tools, test and tweak is basically what email marketing tools there are, what you should be looking for and what you should be measuring in terms of what's a successful campaign. And tweak is develop, test, develop. I've said this a few times over the past couple of days. It's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Test. Send something to a small number, and then if you're not getting a reaction, change it. But you do need to keep an eye on your marketing metrics in order to do that. And most email tools will show you what your open rate was, whether people open them. Some are very clever, show you how far down they got the page and all the rest of it. So they're the things I'm going to cover. But I'd probably like to start by just telling you about some market research that was done, and it was done in 2014 by a company called Fractal and another internet marketing company called Moz. And what they did was they did a comparison of inbound versus outbound, and this is where my dog comes over and probably knocks at the back door wanting to go out, so I may have to give out. I've got a 14-year-old, he's been warned to stay away. I can't do much about the dog, I'm afraid. But there you go. Anyway, okay, so told you, knew this would happen. Be back in a minute. Yes, go on, man. Again. Thank you. And then the phone goes, how bad's that? You turn your mobile off and the phone goes, hey ho, that's life. Right, okay. So I'll go back. That's my sister as well, so Neil was just explaining that I'm not available. Okay. Okay, so getting my train of thought back. Chaos ensues, but anyway, getting my train of thought back. Okay, so the survey was about, and the question was directly asked, what is an effective way for a company to attract your particular business? So what would make you go with a company? And it's quite interesting that the top three at 53% was mailing me offers for discounts, coupons and free trials. So that just shows you that's quite, and it does refer to email, not sort of direct mail. So that does show you that it's a popular avenue for getting new customers. The second one of 53.2%, so there's nothing in it, was offering me free content about a topic I'm interested in. And then the rest of them followed on with 48% at being in search results when they're looking for something that they need, standard advertising, and it goes on and on. So email marketing is massive. Outbound email marketing got something of a dirty name because everyone thought of it as spam and stuff like that, but it's actually a brilliant way to generate leads. So moving on. Okay, all email marketing is about trust. So whether it's inbound or whether it's outbound, whether you're sending emails to people or whether they're coming to you, trust is a massive issue. Hello Heather. Trust is a massive issue, so you have to try and get that trust across in your email. There's a saying that you catch more flies with honey, so trust and making a good offer and a valuable offer, particularly in subject lines, will people near it in. So okay, so if we kind of talk about outbound mailing first. Outbound mailing is about sending emails to people, and they probably what you've described as a cold email, but it's really important to try and get that opened. So outbound emails, you have a list. Now, very often people will get this list from the internet, or you can buy a list. It can be quite expensive actually to buy a list. Sorry, I'm just looking at the dog, and he's now licking his bum. Lovely. Anyway, too much information, but there you go. Riley, can I shut the door now? It's cold. Right, be back in a second. Out the way. Come on, out the way. Okay, you just knew that was going to happen. So some people might decide to purchase a list, and to be honest, if it's a good list, it's likely to be very expensive. Your list depends on your target market, and there is sources of free information available out there, and it really takes a little bit of creativity thinking about who your ideal audience is. Sorry, I'm just Kaylee. Hey, how's you? It's half letting me watch you live. I always have problems. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Hope you got the half that what didn't involve letting the dog out. Anyway, right, okay. So so buying a list can be quite expensive, but you can be creative about it. Now, if I give you an example, all of this is about knowing who your ideal customer is. You're never going to target someone if you don't know who your ideal customer is. And if you haven't done already, I suggest you check out the Academy, because there's a checklist on how to find your ideal customer. I think it's about 3 pages long. It's very, very thorough, and it's actually really, really good. So use that and find out who your ideal customer is. Once you've got an idea of who your ideal customer is, then you might be able to find sources of information from the web. I'm using my own example. One of my ideal clients is actually monumental masons, gravestone makers, and I've got a track record in working with them, so they're a good customer group for me. And I happen to know that they have to be registered with two bodies, two professional bodies, to say that they are capable of doing what they do, and good at doing what they do with a sort of standard and professional ethics. Now, I know their bodies are the National Association of Monumental Masons and BRAM, which is the British Royal Association of Monumental Masons. They both have websites, and they have listed registered members on their websites. Now, that is public record, and I can use that list. I can't download it. I do have to sort of take the names out manually. I did try and do that, but it didn't work. But I can't download it. I did try and take the names out manually. Now, I can offer direct mail to them. And the reason why is I'm making them a very specific offer. So you have to, in order to send outgoing mail, you have to be relevant to that person. So that person needs to have some interest in what it is. So it would be spam if I started offering them Viagra. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start offering them digital marketing and websites, specifically digital marketing and websites for monumental masons, because there's very specific ways of building them, certain things you have to do, and things that you have to take into account. So I can use that as a mailing list. Now, I'm saying this because that is a lot cheaper than me going to somebody like Experian, or even worse, some of the cowboys that are on the internet saying, we'll give you a mailing list with 1,000 names and it'll cost you, and some of them will say 500 quid and some of them will say 50. Your mailing list is massive. Be very, very sure where you get your mailing list from, and be sure it's the right mailing list to use. The biggest reason for this, if you send an email out and say 90% of, say you send them to 100 people, and say sort of 20% bounce back as no address or what have you, that will reflect badly on your email server. When you get a mailing list, you have to be sure that it's going to get through at the other end, and it's because you will go into spam. Now, if your email address goes straight into spam, it will go straight into spam for everybody. You don't need a large number of people to mark an email as spam before the server, because really there's only sort of 5 or 6 email companies, Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail. They will see that, 10-15% of their people have marked it as spam, and your emails will just go into spam for time evermore, and it's really, really difficult when that happens. In fact, I get emails from people I know, and they're internet marketers, and I see them in my spam, because I do check my spam, and I really feel for them, because there's sort of no going back. If you've been blacklisted by a server, it's actually incredibly difficult. So I can't stress enough, make sure that you have a list that's accurate. I'm handwriting this list from the two websites, and I know they're current addresses, so I know that'll yeah, Kaylee, yeah, you do, and it is quite sad when it happens, but it does happen. So I know that them addresses are accurate. If you're buying a list from the internet, there's a couple of things that you really need to bear in mind about buying lists from the internet. And if you're buying a list of customers, so when you're buying a list of customers, obviously you'll know it's your right target market. So if you think you're buying a list of 200 people who live in Newton-le-Willows, yeah, that's a great thing. But if your email isn't relevant because you're selling exercise equipment to 200 people in Newton-le-Willows, and the 200 email addresses you've got are octogenarians over the age of 80, you're probably not going to want your fitness equipment, although I might be wrong. That would be against the Advertising Standards Agency's rules, so you've messed up by doing that. So if you are ever going to buy a list, just ask a couple of questions. Ask if there's any money back guarantee. Ask for a money back guarantee if the delivery rate is less than 90%, and any good company should be able to give you a mailing list with a delivery rate of more than a successful delivery rate of more than 90%, not less, obviously, sorry. Also ask for some demographics of the mailing list, so male, female, and ask for a sample, and if they all say info at or sales at, then they've been scraped from the internet. Most people on their websites don't put Lynne at Wordshed, they'll put info at or sales at Wordshed, and it is actually very, very easy to scrape a load of email addresses from the internet, and people do sell that on as legitimate stuff. And again, it's going to get you blacklisted by the service, so you really don't want that to happen. If it's a business to business list that you're looking to buy, then you need to be thinking about buying a list that contains names and addresses and sort of senior people, and even a few phone numbers, and ring up and check, because it is really, really important that your outbound emails don't end up in spam. So that's sort of direct mail in terms of outbound. What I'm about to talk about with regard to a click-worthy subject line, and I'm going to have a couple of little sip of my coffee, excuse me, what I'm about to talk about there does actually apply to both inbound and outbound, because you know, when you look at your mail client, the first thing you see is that subject line, and sometimes before you even get to the subject line, you already know it's spam, you already know it's not right, and you'll spam it, and obviously we've already talked about that. So there's a couple of rules before you even get to the subject line, and that is the friendly from name. If you're sending out from MailChimp, or you've created an email address, even in Gmail, they will say what is the from name. So if you're saying from info@mycompany.com, it's not friendly, it's not human. Send it from a name, send it from Lynne@mycompany.com, or whatever that is. So that's even before, so that's in the from box, that's even before the subject line. Yeah, send it from a person. You're not sending it from person and you send it from sales. It's impersonal, and impersonal doesn't connect with people. Okay, the other thing that you need to do in a subject line is make it clear, and make it engaging, making it leap out at the screen. There's pre-header text, which is something that you'll usually, if you've ever used MailChimp or anything, you'll see in the top right hand corner, it'll say tell them something about your message. In Gmail and the likes, it's usually the first 1 or 2 lines of your email, so make sure that grabs them, make sure that says what it is. And if you're sending out genuine emails that are going to interest people, you've targeted the right customers, you've got an offer that applies to the right customers. They will open it because it's something that they're going to want, it's something that's useful to them. So there's a couple of ways that you can think about making that click-worthy subject line. If it's B2B, as a business person, you get loads of emails. So try to be specific in some way. You can use humour, you can use emotion, use personal every time. So try and get the name of the person. So instead of sending it to sales manager at, or I've got a hello wordshed address, and I know anyone who's going to send it to hello wordshed is going to be someone I'm not going to be interested in. So try and use their name, if you've got it, in the actual email address, because that's going to get a better open rate. If you haven't got details like that, use something local. I don't know of, I might be wrong, but there might be BizMums that are doing things nationally or doing things globally, but pretty much it's going to be the UK. So if you can do something that is local, even if it's UK focused, you're more likely to get an open. If you're offering a discount, make it stand out. Sale now on, you might get like 6 or 7 sale now on, Black Friday deals, and how do you make it stand out like that? So you've only probably got about 10 words, so make it as specific and as person centered as you possibly can, and that's a good way to do it. If you go in business to customer, think about the category of your campaign. What is it you're trying to do? Is this a campaign where you've got everybody's birthday? Is it a Valentine's Day campaign? Is it something that you're giving that's of use? If it's something useful that you're offering it to a customer, put that in your heading, because that will make people, that's going to make people click. The chances are, if you've got something that's worth sending, it's something worth reading. So that's really what you need to do. Sometimes heartwarming can sort of emotion led. Did you know you can do this if XYZ? So really craft your subject line. You've only got a couple of words. Make it as local, personal, and I suppose proactive as you possibly can. Okay, so let me have a drink, please excuse me, I'm starting to dry up, and I've got a feeling the dog's going to want to go out again in a minute, but there you go. So let me talk about unsolicited mail for a second, because I say it's all sort of happened with inbound and outbound. Really and truly speaking, you've got to have the permission of the person that you're targeting. But there's rules that are loose around that, and it's called the soft opt-in. So you may have been given something at a shop and they say, can we email you your receipt, can you? In some ways that's a soft opt-in, but you do need to be careful if you're running a business and you're collecting emails in that way, because if you are, you need to say to the person, can we email you the receipt? Would it be okay if we sent you details of offers? And most people for that will go, yeah, okay then, because they don't seem to mind. So a soft opt-in is where they've been in receipt of a product or service from you. So in my case, I've got a number of customers and I've got a customer list. And to be honest, I don't send emails out to them that often, but I do at certain times, Christmas and, you know, when it's the birthday and stuff like that. Just because I can and I've got them details, so I do. I haven't actually asked them, can I do this? And I will occasionally send offers out to them. None of them unsubscribe just because they know who I am and they know me, and I don't think they feel right unsubscribing. But that's the soft opt-in. I haven't asked them, but I do have their details for that reason. And what I'm offering is the same as what I've offered before. So they've implied that they've got an interest in my products and services. So I am allowed to send them emails in that respect. The other thing that you have to do, and a lot of the mail companies, when you use things like MailChimp, stuff like that, they will make you do it. You have to have an unsubscribe link. So you have to have a place at the bottom which is very obvious. It can't be tiny. You know, it shouldn't be hidden or hidden away. The advertising, ASA, Advertising Standards Agency, lost the plot there for a minute. they insist that there is an address and an opt-out, and it's very, very, very clear. I do actually have a link to the Advertising Standards Agency site, and I'll put it on so that everyone can see and click through, because it's very useful to have. Okay, so a few tips now about what you need to how you actually write the email. So particularly with outbound, but it's just as important with both, writing an email is very specific, and there is actually a formula to do it. So there is actually a formula to do it, and so if you follow this process, it will help. So firstly, write emails for the individual. Write it like it was personal, very, very personal. Write the name in a natural way. So sometimes people use mailing lists and they've got everything in capital letters, so it ends up going to somebody in capital letter, and it's like, that's not very personal, is it? When you're doing an email campaign, have one campaign per persona. So if you've got a number of key people who are your clients, segment them, get them down smaller, have one offer that you think is appropriate to one sector of your audience. So that way, you, again, it's about personal, it's about personalization. I hope you can't see them messages popping up on my screen from other people, but anyway. Okay, so this is really, really crucial. One call to action per message. One of the things that annoys me about Facebook is very often you'll get a like in the corner and a click here, and there's like 3 or 4 calls to actions, and it's really hard. It's one call to action per message. So if you want someone to buy now, that's all you're asking them to do. You're not asking them to buy now and subscribe to and do this and contact us back and ring us if you want. You're asking them to buy now. So it's one call to action per message. Make your email short and easy to respond to if need be. Use active verbs, so use doing and going words. Me, what's in it for me? Benefits, benefits, benefits. Whenever you write an email, tell them what it is you're giving them. Don't let them second guess. Don't say, I've got a wonderful offer on training shoes. Oh, right, wonderful, you've got a wonderful offer on training shoes. No, you're going to save them money on the training shoes that they need the most. They need these training shoes because X, Y, Z. Benefits, benefits, benefits. Always put it in the person's point of view. Not what you can offer them, it's what this will do for them. If it's possible, use stories. Stories have become a very popular way of marketing and advertising lately. You only have to look at like the Heinz soup stories. I can't get my kids to eat veg, but I can get them to eat tomato soup. But it's all done on a story. You probably remember the Bisto adverts and the gold coffee adverts. Stories are a very, very powerful way of selling. So if you're in a market that can do that, take advantage of using stories. Use a visual signature or a colourful signature, something that's going to stand out, even a photo of yourself. And if you're using a photo of yourself, make sure it's smiling, and if possible, show your hands. Because hand gestures are a body language sign of trust. So if you've got a visual signature, then try and use it. It's because I'm trying to stroke the dog because he's tapping me for attention. Sorry, that's why I'm leaning that way. Anyway, right, okay. So visual signature is something that's going to stand out. Always be testing. Test, develop, test. If you've got an email to send out, send them to half your audience or a third of your audience. Send a different one to the other 2/3 or whatever it is, and see which gets you better open rate. You could send one email out to 500 people and get 2 responses. It might not be the right email. You could send one email out to 250 people and not get responses, but the other 250 people do, because it appeals to them in a different way. And then what you do is you repeat the good email to the other 250 that you've already told about the offer. It's a tough one. Test in small segments, see what response you get. then see what you can times by. Always test, always look at the open rates. The open rates are the biggest indicator of whether something's been successful. If it's as simple as a subject line, send a subject line to different people. Okay, so I suppose I did sort of talk a lot there about direct mail, and I know a number of people, especially a number of people who've commented over the last few days, have said that they're interested in the longer term customers, the longer term acquisition of customers, and building a list. So I'm going to talk about inbound marketing slightly more now. So inbound marketing, you have to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're heading. So you have to have one clear goal. So if you're running, always get into the mindset of campaigns, as opposed to saying, I'm going to send an advert out, or I'm going to send an email out about my business. Your business is massive and you probably offer a number of different products and services, so narrow it down, be more specific as much as possible. So have that goal. Have the goal and define it. I said before about the importance of knowing who your customer is. I can't stress that enough, and that has to go through email marketing and any type of marketing. You need to know who you're trying to reach. Who you're trying to reach is part of your goal. So you must define that and define what success is. So if your goal is to bring customers closer to you and bring them on a journey, that's your goal, that's fine. That's what you want to do from your emails. So your email should be specific to that, and any call to action you have should be specific to that. You might be trying to raise awareness and promote new products and services. Again, fine, that's your goal. So your goal is, I want to tell people I've just developed this new product and it might be useful to XYZ of new customers, of old customers, inbound, outbound, whichever it is. That's your goal, to raise awareness of your new service. If your goal is to sell 3 new services, then fine, that's a goal. But define what your measurement of success is for that goal. Because you have to have a strategy. Okay, so if your strategy, and again coming back to inbound marketing and building a process whereby people sign up on your form on your website or whatever it is, and you get them contact details, and it's inbound marketing. Once you know what your goal is, what type of email are you going to send out? How often are you going to send it out? What's it going to be about? Is it going to be about your company news? Is it going to be regular? Is it going to be monthly? Is it fortnightly? That's a very, very tough question to answer, because sometimes you'd think it might be a bit of overkill, but think about your goal. If your goal is time specific, then you might only send out 1 or 2. If your goal is broader, about bringing people along a journey, you might be sending out more. You might be trying to build trust by providing a newsletter. You might be just out and out saying, you bought from me before, did you know we've got this add-on, and this add-on can make whatever you bought from me before is fantastic. Decide on your goal, and that will help you plan what sort of newsletters and emails to send. When it comes to writing the email itself, be creative. Use a clear subject line. Make sure personal. Make sure that the sender's name's on it. Put your logo on it. You want to be instantly identifiable. You want your email copy to be benefits. You want your email copy to speak to the customer and tell them what's in it for them. What's in it for them? Not what you've got to offer, what's in it for them. And I've said this before, and I said it quite strongly, and I'll say it again. Every email, every goal, every action, it's got one call to action. Otherwise, you're going to confuse people. If you've got in one corner, contact me if you want to know more. You've got in the bottom corner, buy now. What is it they're meant to do? You give people choices, they won't choose any. So you have to have one call to action. So the call to action is buy now, subscribe, hire me, shop here, learn more, download, start your free trial. Whatever it is, it's one call to action. Another one which people forget to do, put a social media sharing button on it. Put a social media sharing button on your email, because if they don't want it, they might know someone who does. Or they might want to say, hey, I've just bought XYZ and isn't it great? And you'll get more reach, and it's something as simple as just including a little link and a little icon, and things like MailChimp and stuff like that make it so easy just to drag a button in. So put a social media sharing button on it. The other one, again, unsubscribe link and address. It's a must. You actually have to do it within this country, because if you're sending any sort of advert out, which does include digital media, which is an email, you have to have an address and you have to have an unsubscribe link. And usually it's better to have a phone number too. Okay, has anyone got any questions before I kind of move on to the final part? Because if you do, I won't wait for them, but because I know there's a bit of a delay on this, but if you do, please shout them out and I'll keep my eye on the screen, and I'll try and answer the questions as I go along. Okay, so moving on to the 5 pillars of successful email list building. If you don't have a list, you haven't got emails to send to people, so it's important you try and get people to your list, and that's not really all that easy, and it kind of depends on how you're going about it. So there's 5 parts of a strategy that you should use. Okay, so the first one, you're not going to be surprised to hear me say this: know your audience. Know your audience and know what questions that they might have, know what problems that you might be able to solve, because that's ultimately what people want. They want a solution to their problems from whatever it is they're going to purchase. Most industries offer a solution to problems. That's what most products do. So know your audience, know where they're going to be, and know what questions they're going to ask. The other one, always look for subscribers. Every little chance you get someone to sign up to your newsletter. Have it on as many pages as you possibly can. Have it at the bottom, have it at the top. One call to action per page, and that is, please subscribe. Please subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll get XYZ, so always be looking for subscribers. You write a blog post, if you haven't got one of them little pop-ups, write it at the bottom. If you enjoyed this, because they must have if they got to the bottom, we do this all the time. Subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe, and you will be the first to know anything. So always be looking for subscribers in every opportunity, on every page of your website, your Facebook page, whatever it is. Always be looking for subscribers. Okay. If you've got a physical address, because obviously I was talking about websites and putting links and stuff on everywhere. If you've got a physical address, do what all the bigger firms have started to do. Human interaction is a great way of getting email addresses. So, take it as part of someone's contact details. Ask them if you'd like to email them the receipt. Tell them that you send offers out on a regular basis, and if you've got your email address, you'll be happy to send them an offer for XYZ. So whatever, offer a loyalty scheme. And if you shop here XYZ times, then we will give you this loyalty. And so even bricks and mortar places, always be looking for subscribers. So you shop, whatever your business is, and you haven't got a website, always be looking for subscribers. Always try to get people's email addresses. Always try to be saying, we give great offers, we send loads of great information, we've got this. So always be looking for the email addresses, and always be looking for subscribers. Another one, and I hope this doesn't get too confusing, but it's about giving the right offer to the right people. So sometimes you might only have one offer, and that's fine, and that's easy, and this is our offer, and please give us your email address in response to the offer that we're making. But sometimes you might have a few different offers that appeal to a few different people. And if that's the case, and you do have a website, try to target it. So if you've got a blog post, so in my case, if I've got a blog post about using WordPress sites, then I might have an offer that is, I will show you how to make a WordPress site, look over my shoulder while I do it, and that's a targeted offer, so that will be on that page. If an offer is something different, and maybe I've written a blog post about email marketing, then the offer for that page could be, well, I do this on email marketing and I give you hints, tips and advice. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, you will get these hints, tips and advice. If you have then two separate offers and you know what makes, because if they've given you the email address, something about your offer has made them tick. So if you've got multiple services or multiple strings to your bow, then try to create a very specific list by segmenting and thinking about your ideal customer for each product, and then creating an offer on each page for that. Okay, so let's talk about the offer. Let's talk about the lead magnet. A lead magnet is just that, and it's as simple as give your email address and we'll send you vouchers for 15% off. Or it's as complicated as give your email address and we'll send you XYZ. But there's a couple of rules for the lead magnet. And basically the rules is you've got to create a lot of value. For someone to part with their contact details, it must be something worth parting their contact details for. Because we all get so much spam, and we all know when someone asks for the email address, oh, you're going to spam me. So you've got to give them something in return. So basically the lead magnet is something of immense value to that person, and it's about being specific. It's about saying, my ideal customer is this and I've got this product. This ideal customer is ideal for this particular product. So if you've got a couple of different things that you can offer different people, as long as it's specific to that audience, you have to solve their problem. If it's not valuable to them, they're not going to give you the email address. So you have to solve their problem. So be very specific. Offer the silver bullet. Speak to the end result. So for your email address, I will give you a 3-page PDF, 4-page PDF, whatever it is. I will give you my secret to solving your problem. So I will give you a 10-step process to get more email subscribers. That's your audience. That's what's going to float their boat. That's what you're giving them. A specific offer, specific customer, specific service. Speak to the end result. What do they really want? The other thing I'd say is it needs to be immediate gratification. Because if you're offering a 32-page ebook, is someone going to read it? Are they going to go, oh yeah, I've downloaded that. It's on my Kindle. I keep meaning to do that. I will do it. I will do it. So give them something, if you can, that's short and snappy and snazzy and can be consumed quite quickly. And then you can follow up if you need to. The offer needs to have high perceived value. Sometimes it's a bit corny, but you'll see various people offering, we'll give you this and it's worth £300 and we're going to give you it for nothing, or we're going to give you it for a tenner. Part of you knows it's kind of not, but it needs to have a high perceived value. So this is what it's worth. Be realistic. What problems does it solve? Normally you would charge XYZ and make it believable, but it's got to have a high perceived value. Whatever it is needs to look professional. If it's going to have this high perceived value, it's got to look great. A little Word document with a few things on isn't going to cut it. A logo, something nice, make it look like it's what you're saying it's worth. So, and let it have value. I know it seems mad to give some of your best content away for free, but it isn't, because that content will get shared and it will build links and it will get you noticed from one place to the other. So why not give away some of your best content? You're always creating. You've always got something else to give. So why not give it away? A lot of people don't agree with me for that, but I just think that whatever goes around comes around. So if you're giving something of good value away, people will talk about you for it and people will praise you for it and it'll come back to you. That's just my way of thinking. If it's going to be all sizzle and no steak, there's no point. So let it have value. It needs to be easy to access to. It really does need to be easy to access. Because if people have got to jump through hoops, they're not going to. If they've got to go to another page, they're not going to. If it's on your internet site, make it really easy for them to access. The things like the shops and stuff like that, if you've had where the shop assistant will highlight the receipt and say, you could win £20, you fill in the survey, it will take you straight to the page. It won't take you to a home page and then someone's got to find it. Straight to where you want them to go with what action you want them to do, and that's what you need to do. Okay, so this is hard to do because I can't show you slides on Facebook. I don't know if that'll work. No, it's not going to work. What is it? Right, it's back to front. Yes, it is. Okay, that's not going to work, is it? It's a process, and I'll put a link up to it again, called next best action. So once someone has downloaded something, on the downloads page, tell them what you want them to do next. Tell them what you want them to do next, and if they don't, and you know they haven't clicked through, is there something else they might be interested in? That when you look back, this person downloaded, but they never clicked back through, or they haven't opened that, and that's something that your email metrics tell you. What's the next best action that you want them to take? Is there something else that they could do that would be simpler? Is there something else you could offer them that could provide value? So always be having a backup plan. And I will put a link up to that because it is actually a really good flowchart which shows you X took this pattern, that didn't happen, so they took Y, and it's quite a nice diagram which sort of explains about funnels and how to make them all work together in a good way. I'm going to have another drink because I'm going dry, so give us a second. And we're on to the last part, so you can get to your Valentine's wine. Yeah, okay. So, okay. There's loads of email software out there. Some of it's free, some of it's not. It's really hard for me to sort of give a good instruction because so many people would use different things. Personally, I don't really use email software. I use a CRM. So I've got control over my data. I know who's on my lists, and I know who's on my contacts, and when they started, when they didn't. And I keep that information because it's important to me. And the reason it's important to me is I need to know which segments people fit into. So that's segments for the services that they'd be interested in. But it's also segments for where they came from, where I met them. This is how I keep, did I know them? Are they from a different part of the country? What information do I have about them? My CRM allows me to keep that information, and it's something that I've found most of the free email tools don't let you do. They'll let you segment, but it makes it a little bit more difficult. Whereas if you've got an overview of who that email subscriber is, you'll know which segment to put them into. You'll know which goal that customer could fulfill. And that's one of the reasons why I use a CRM. So what I've done is played about with MailChimp in the last couple of days, just because I know that most people will use MailChimp as a software, and they've all got great things about them and they've all got bad things about them. But I can't really knock MailChimp because they do make it easy to get started with email campaigns, and it's free. So if you've only got a couple of people and you're starting to build your list, MailChimp's perfect. When you get into loads of subscribers, it's the most expensive platform, and it's worth looking at one of the other monthly solutions. But it's definitely a good platform to start with. So I'm kind of going to come at it from a MailChimp angle in terms of what you can get in terms of the segments and the analytics and the data that you can get from it, just because it does kind of fit them all, but I'm basing it on what you get free in MailChimp sort of will fit more people, so I can sort of hopefully give you a bit more value by using them as an example. Okay, so any email software needs to give you a couple of things, and there is loads. Constant Contact, there's just, my mind's gone, but there is quite a few of them, but there's a few commonalities which they must have, and they must be able to help you make emails. They must be able to have a visual email builder so that you can easily drag and drop items into place to make your email look really good, because it is important. People like colour, people like personalisation, and a visual builder will allow you to do that. It also must have a good contacts database, so somewhere where it keeps all your names in a list and you can see them, and most importantly you can export them if you're going to go anywhere else, because what you don't want is to close down the software and lose all your contacts. So you should be able to easily manage your contacts. Pretty much all of them will allow you to do that. The next, probably the most crucial thing, because remember all the way through this I've talked about being personal and targeting and knowing who your audience is. The next thing it should allow you to do is segment into groups. Because if you've got an email address of if you've got a list of 900 people, not all of them 900 people are going to want the same thing. They will all have come in at different places. They will all have different motivations for joining your list, and it's much easier if you can, within the email software, you can segment them into different avenues that you can target. Now again, I do that externally because I get more information by doing that within my CRM, but MailChimp will allow you to do that even with the free accounts. They're a bit limited in some senses, but you can have pre-made segments, so it's quite automatic, so it's not too bad. So you can have pre-made segments of all your subscribers, so everyone who's subscribed, active subscribers, so they're the people who are opening like 90% of your emails, not people who just ignore everything or it goes into spam. And then you've got inactive subscribers, and they're in your pre-built list. Having a list of subscribers, and you can see that a lot of them are inactive, sometimes it's worth contacting them and saying, hey, should I take you off our list because you haven't opened our emails? And sometimes that will kick them back into going, oh no, it's just that I haven't got round to it, and every time they come into my inbox, and the person will start to re-engage, and sometimes they'll just hit unsubscribe there and then. But hey, don't take room up on your list, who needs them? I know for e-commerce stores you can connect to MailChimp, which is quite nice, but the best sort of products are kept for the paid customers. But at least it's nice to know that you can put your product straight into a newsletter, which is a nice thing to do. Okay, so target, and be relevant. Benefits. I seem to say everything 3 times, but basically it is about knowing who your ideal customer is, and segmentation allows you to do that. It allows you to say, actually, XYZ signed up for this reason, so they're really interested in this product I've got to sell, and they won't be so much interested in that. So I won't risk them as a subscriber by boring them, and I also won't risk the wrath of the Advertising Standards Agency by sending them completely something unrelated, and I won't end up in spam, because they're not going to say this is spam if something bores them. So segmentation is massive, it really is important. Automation is a really good thing to be able to have, especially if you've got a funnel process. Most of, and MailChimp in particular, doesn't allow you to automate responses, and that's a bit of a shame really, because sometimes, as I sort of try to explain with the email, sometimes you need an automatic response. So someone takes one action, it's much better time consuming wise if once they've taken that action, your next email is ready to drop into their inbox and you don't have to go away and think about it. Now, it's not impossible to do by hand, because you will get notifications, and you can actually, MailChimp in particular can give you notifications daily, so at least you can then follow it up by hand. But yeah, very often automation is brilliant because it just saves you so much time, and it lets you pre-think a funnel. It also lets you test and work things better, because you know what's coming next to that person and which journey and which path they're following, and it helps you track and target, gives you just a little bit more to think about what they might need from you in the future. So there's a few things that you need to watch, and there's a few things that you need to do in terms of making the most of your email campaign. I said before about segments and testing, and send one email to this. It's called A/B testing, and MailChimp does actually allow you to A/B test certain aspects of your email. So it will allow you to send test emails to one set of groups and segments and send other emails to another, which is fabulous, because you need to test, develop, tweak, test, develop, tweak. You won't get everything right first time. You won't appeal to certain audiences in a certain way first time. But once, if you test and you see, that worked better for men than women, you will have a better response rate as you get more subscribers and as you go along. So there's a few metrics that you really need to keep your eye on, and that's how many you sent, the percentage and how many were opened, time of open rate. That's massive, because if you can figure out and you look and say, all my women open mine at 6 o'clock after the tea's finished or whatever it is, or actually most of my emails are opened in the morning before they took the kids to school, and then you can see what time to target and the best time to catch your audience. So open rate and time of open rate is massive. The other thing to keep your eye on is the click through to the website, or click through to your offer if you haven't got a website and it's just an offer on a Shopify shop or on a Facebook page or whatever it is. So the click-through rate is massive, because if they're not clicking through, could it be a problem? Could it be it hasn't been shared? Could it be you not making it clear? Could it be you've got too many calls to actions? So the click-through rate, in terms of what your goal and what it is you want to achieve, is a really, really important metric to keep your eye on. Are they taking the action you want them to take? And the obvious one, unsubscribe rate. If something's happened and you've ended up getting a load of unsubscribers randomly and you didn't realise, you can't make mistakes. You just find an opportunity to do it differently next time. So keep your eye on your unsubscribe rate, because there could be something really simple that's putting them off. I know I used to get emails from someone all the time, and I know it was a MailChimp email, and in the top right hand corner it's got a text box that says, put some information about your email here. And it used to make me laugh, but then it got irritating, because every time I got an email, the subject line would be, put some information about the subject of your email here. And I ended up unsubscribing, because I was like, okay, you can make a mistake once or twice, but after 10 emails you need to get this right. So look at your unsubscribe rate, and then just make sure, send it to yourself, make sure daft little things like that aren't happening. Put yourself on your own mailing list so that things like that don't happen. Nobody's really asked any questions, unless I'm missing them and I should be scrolling up. No. Okay, so no one's really asked any questions, and I understand it's Valentine's night, so chances are people are off out. Hopefully, if you've got any questions, if you're watching the replay, I do hope I've provided value. I know it's been quite long, but there's so much to say, because email marketing is massive, because it's inbound, it's outbound, there's rules to consider, there's best practices to consider, there's agencies that govern sort of the mail that you send, and you don't want to fall foul of that. So any questions whatsoever, hit me up in the comments and I'll be happy to ask. And with that, I'll say happy Valentine's Day and good night.